much. And now I get the opportunity to introduce Mr. Ronald S. Cohen, Ph.D. of United Cerebral Palsy, which is doing great work in my home city of Los Angeles. Ronald Cohen has been the Chief Executive Officer of the United Cerebral Palsy of Los Angeles, Ventura, and Santa Barbara counties since 1987. Prior to the CEO position, Cohen served as clinical director for UCP. In 1980, he established the first community-based group homes for non-ambulatory children and adults with behavioral disorders in the state of California. Some of the first individuals in 1980 leaving the state developmental centers are being treated in those UCP homes. Under Cohen's leadership, UCP has developed 32 homes and rent-subsidized apartments consisting of 278 units. A number of the tenants came from the state developmental centers. Mr. Cohen is widely regarded as an expert on developing housing for special needs populations. He has testified before the United States Congress and California State Legislature on alternatives to institutionalization. Thank you very much for being here today, Dr. Cohen. Also, we have serving on the panel today Diane Randall, Partnership for Strong Communities, Ann O'Hara, Technical Assistance Collaborative, and Mark Shelburne, North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. Welcome, panelists. Thank all of you for appearing before the subcommittee today. And without objection, your written statement will be made part of the record. You will now be recognized for a 5-minute summary of your testimony. Thank you very much, Dr. Cohen.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, for the opportunity to testify on the Section 811 Housing for Persons with Disabilities program and why H.R. 5772 is needed. I am Ron Cohen, the CEO of United Cerebral Palsy of LA, Ventura, and Santa Barbara counties. And UCP has developed 22 HUD projects over the years. 12 of those have been the 811 Capital Advance grants to build apartments and homes for persons with significant developmental disabilities. Our buildings vary in size from 6 to 24 units, and they're integrated in neighborhoods throughout 4 Southern California counties. For every project we do, we must raise additional funds to fill that gap between the HUD grant and the true cost of construction, especially our units, which are fully accessible. If one of our tenants can't hold the key in their hand to open their front door, every door is infrared wired. So we put a switch on their wheelchair that will coordinate whatever part of their body they can voluntarily move, whether it be a finger, a toe, a head, a knee, and they hit that switch and the doors open and close automatically. We have wide doorways, we have roll-in showers, we have tilted mirrors and elevators. These units literally change lives. Stephen S. is 42 years old, and he lived in a state hospital since the age of 3. He now lives in a UCP HUD apartment in Santa Monica, 39 years behind institutional walls, and today he is making decisions about what he eats for dinner, when he eats dinner, and what local neighborhood Starbucks he'll go to in his power wheelchair. We know that housing development takes time, but this 811 process is over the top. In fact, they built the Staples Center in Los Angeles, where the Lakers play, faster than I can build a 13-unit HUD apartment complex. And that's why we need reforms. Our projects, our small 811 projects, have taken 5 to 8 years to build. And much of that process that bogs us down is just moving paperwork. One of our projects was funded in September 1995 and was not eligible for occupancy until October of 2003, a full 8 years after receiving the HUD award. The delays cost money. The costs of building materials go up, and the charity is the one that's left holding the bag. Our Burbank project, we submitted what is called the firm commitment application. We submitted that 9 months after we received the HUD award. And that means we're ready for construction. All entitlements have been completed, all permits we have. We're ready to go. We're ready to bring in the bulldozers, and we submit that paperwork to HUD. 27 months later, they completed the paperwork. Another project, 811 project, took 29 months. That's almost 2.5 years. We're ready to build, and we had to wait 2.5 years. What that did to the Burbank project, it increased the cost 25% on a $4 million project, $1 million extra dollars. We're left, again, as the deep pockets. For every dollar United Cerebral Palsy has to spend on bricks and mortar because of the delay, that dollar, that $1 million, comes out of program services, comes out of feeding and bathing and taking care of people. We need to speed up the process. HR 5772 will help. It changes some program guidance and will help with the red tape that we have to go through today. There is a critical need for affordable housing all over this country, and especially in LA. But affordable housing is becoming unaffordable for the nonprofit developer who uses the 811 project. We need change. I urge you to pass 5772, and I thank you for your commitment.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank each of you for your testimony, and I'd like to thank you for taking time from your lives and your schedules to come to Washington, D.C. To provide us with information that will be helpful in passing this most important legislation. I'd like to turn to some questions at this point, but let me just say that we did invite HUD to be here today. They could not send a witness, but I am going to grant unanimous consent to permit HUD to submit written testimony on HR 5772, and we're asking that they have it into us within 2 weeks, so without objection, such is the order. I have a few questions before I turn to the members. Let me ask Dr. Cohen about funding. Both the current 811 program and this legislation require nonprofit sponsors to finance supportive services outside of 811 capital advance and project-based rent subsidies. Where do you get additional resources from to do this?
For the support services?
Yes.
Well, in the state of California, we have the Lanham Act, which creates the regional centers, and I think California is the only entitlement state in the country. So our folks are entitled to support services, and there are many vendors that provide those services, we being one of them also, and the regional center system with state money purchases those services, whether it be 5 hours a day that a person might need or 24 hours a day, like Mr. Stephen S. that I mentioned in Santa Monica has 24-hour supports.
You're absolutely right. I served in the state legislature, and I should have remembered the Lanham Act and our tremendous services that we provide to the developmentally disabled. As a matter of fact, we have, and I still work with, a number of individuals who have small homes where they have 6, 7, or 8 people who live there, and they have the regional centers that provide support for all of them, and it seems to work very well. This legislation would require shifting of underwriting from HUD to the State Housing Finance Agency if an 811 sponsor seeks mixed financing. Would this work in California?
If it can move the process faster, yes. And I believe what I hear, it will move it faster.
Have you had any conversation with our state housing agency about this, and are they willing to work directly with the nonprofit disability agencies?
Our state housing agency has been very supportive of supporting the development of homes and apartments for people with developmental disabilities. In fact, we've gotten a number of grants from them. We have one right now on a 24-unit project going up in Glendale, which is an 811 project. Yes.
That's very good. Ms. Capito.
For the record, I'd like to do this, just so that we'll have it in the record. Is it true that you, and each of you, that you support this piece of legislation? If this is the case, would you kindly extend a hand? I don't mean to have you do something so simplistic, but I want to make sure that we have everybody on record. All right. For the record, everyone on this panel supports this piece of legislation, and I want that to be made known that we have an entire panel. This is a unique occurrence. An entire panel supports this piece of legislation, which is important, by the way. It's important. And finally, let me just ask this. I know that you've given us great information. The insight that you've accorded us is a blessing. It really is. But is there something more that you would have us do, any one of you, to make this piece of legislation even better? I think that my colleagues have done an outstanding job, but is there something else that anyone would want to call to our attention that we might do to tweak it? Anyone? Yes, ma'am.
I would love the report language to make sure that HUD throws out all 400 pages of the 811 guidance that now exists.
Report language?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would be very helpful to make sure that HUD really does change what their current policies are on the processing of these grants.
All right. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I can't leave it unsaid. More money for the program.
Okay. I think that's a good point. I will close with this comment, if I may. Listen, those of you who are concerned about 200 pages going in, 2 years to come out, I sincerely believe that something will happen in and around November of this year that will change that. I just believe it. Thank you very much, and I yield.
Having said that, the chair notes that some members may have additional questions for this panel, which they may wish to submit in writing. Without objection, the hearing record will remain open for 30 days for members to submit written questions to these witnesses and to place their responses in the record. And I know that many of the members have already indicated, Mr. Murphy and Ms. Biggert, that they would like to be co-sponsors on this legislation, so we will make sure that that happens. This panel is now dismissed, and we don't have a second panel today. Let me just thank you again, and before we adjourn, the written statements of the following organizations will be made part of the record for this hearing. I understand that ADAP has a written statement that we will make part of the record. I thank you all so very much. This hearing is adjourned.